Well, folks, I want to thank you for coming tonight to do, yet again, something very differently than what we're used to doing. This looks very different. But, you know, we're on an athletic facility, so it feels right in some ways. Tonight we'll be celebrating a successful spring semester of competition and recognizing many of you for your accomplishments and accolades this spring. But in particular, we will be honoring our seniors tonight for what they have committed to over these last 4 years at Houghton. At this time, I want to introduce Dr. Ken Shank, our Vice President for Planning and Innovation, and an avid runner in his own right, so an athlete, to bring you some words of greeting.
I used to be an athlete, now I just hate myself. I'm in my 50s, so you know, it gets worse. Well, I want to welcome you on behalf of Houghton College tonight. President Mullen would like to be here. She's at a sports event in its own right. Wesleyan leaders get together and they argue about things, and so I'm sure some sort of a Wesleyan cage match is going on at headquarters, even right now as we speak. But I want to welcome you on behalf of Houghton College, and thank you for what a crazy, I mean, we could say it's been a crazy year, but it's also been, I think, a fun year. I've really enjoyed watching you put 2 seasons into 1 semester. That's crazy, but it's been fun to watch, and I think you've had a good season. I've enjoyed watching some of the live stream and hearing of the victories here and there, and maybe some that weren't a victory, but I've enjoyed them all the same, and I hope you have as well. So we want to welcome you on behalf of Houghton College, and thank you for your sacrifice. It's been a sacrifice, but you came, you played, you did it, and we just want to celebrate that and open tonight in a word of prayer. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for each person here, and we thank especially the seniors who are about to graduate and walk across the stage in just a few days. We pray that you would bless everybody as they get that final assignment done, or maybe take that last test. But we pray that this would be a week of celebration and enjoyment, and would lead into a wonderful summer for everyone. We pray that you be with us here tonight and help everybody with whatever they might be facing today. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to invite Senior Hannah Daniels up of the field hockey program. She's going to deliver our first senior speech. Hannah?
There we go. Hello, everybody. So I just wanted to start off with God. I have loved being a student athlete here at Houghton. I have had the time of my life. I am so thankful for and will never forget so many of the memories I've made here. Like how it feels to know that God is there with your team during a match, to have the joy of scoring a shootout in that game after double overtime, and to win that game. Or to be singing karaoke with my team in the townhouse, and if you know my team, you know we have amazing vocals, only to have someone stop by and say, I hate to interrupt what I think is karaoke night, but you guys are loud, could you keep it down? I've loved sprinting, yes sprinting, when it's circle to circle, chasing another player, and coming up with the ball. And I've loved hobbling with my team, dressed as old women, doing a scavenger hunt when we thought it was bingo. I have loved those moments after a game where, win or lose, you know you've given your absolute best out there on the field. And I even love not when you miss the ball at the end of overtime and you lose, but when after you do, just about every one of your teammates reaches out to you to lift you back up. I hope that those of you here have had similar memories on your teams and that you cherish them as deeply as I do. I am going to miss so much about being here. I hope my fellow seniors can relate. It hasn't really sunk in yet that we're nearing the end, that we've finished this leg of the race. It's bittersweet. There's so much to look forward to, but so much to miss. Most of all, I'm going to miss my team. The 4 or so years I've spent with these girls have blessed me countlessly, and I've made some of my best friends that will last forever. I'm also going to miss my coach. She's been the best coach I've played for, has a heart after God, loves us like her family, and is our rock. See, I know that after I leave, I can still find ways to be involved in hockey, but I won't have my team like I do here. So I hope for everyone who still has time here that they take no moment for granted and focus on the things and the relationships that matter. The time goes by quicker than you realize. For those of you leaving like me, I hope you continue to pour into the relationships you've made and also look for new ways to keep playing the sport you love. Don't let what you've worked so hard and long on end here if you don't want it to. See, this is just the beginning of something new, and we can take everything we've learned and experienced with us as we go. So as I look back on my 4 years here, all the good times and bad, I'd have to say I wouldn't give up being a student athlete for the world. Field hockey's been a part of my life for so long. It's how God brought me to Houghton, and it's certainly one of the reasons I've stayed. Through playing hockey here, I've learned more about what it means to play for God, in both my play and attitude, and to give it all to Him. And I've learned what it means to have a team that's like my family. So as I face leaving and all the unknown challenges that arise, I can rest assured knowing God is by my side and my team has my back. Thank you.
I'm pleased to present the Dr. Marvin H. Eiler and the Velma H.M. Houghton Excellence Award. These awards recognize the top male and female student athletes at Houghton College. The women's award is called the Velma H.M. Houghton Excellence Award, and the men's award is called the Dr. Marvin H. Eiler Excellence Award. Both Mrs. Houghton and Dr. Eiler were outstanding Christian student athletes during their time at Houghton, and continue to live by the ideals that these awards honor throughout their time after college. The awards recognize student athletes who have lived according to the department's motto, Excellence for the Glory of God. The recipients, typically seniors, are those who have regularly exhibited excellence in the areas of athletic performance, academic achievement, and Christian character during their time as a Highlander student athlete. The awards have been described as recognizing the ideal Houghton athlete. Our female recipient has been making her presence known on the track since her freshman campaign when she won her first Empire 8 individual title. During her 4th season, she has claimed 4 conference titles in the 800 meters and has run the second fastest indoor 800 time in Empire 8 history. She has finished on the podium 14 times at the Empire 8 track championships, and she holds 4 runner-up finishes. She hopes to add to those numbers this weekend. She has also been the recipient of several weekly Empire 8 Athlete of the Week honors. She will finish her Highlander career with school award records in the indoor 400 meters and the indoor 800 meters. Away from the track, she has been active in several area churches and regularly volunteers her time at Liberty ARC, assisting individuals with intellectual disabilities and helping local youth with homework at Fillmore Powerhouse. She has also served as a camp counselor at City Kids Christian Sports Camp. She will graduate with a degree in psychology with a concentration in clinical counseling and a minor in communication. This year's Female Excellence Award recipient is Adina Sanchez. I was going to say, is that a sprint, Adina?
Hang out here until
Okay, our men's award recipient is a 5-year starter on the baseball team and 2-year captain. During his undergraduate years, he was a 3-time All-Empire 8 first-team selection and had most all-conference votes among outfielders all 3 seasons. He is a 2-time Empire 8 Player of the Week and is a 2-time NCCAA All-Region selection. He is currently Houghton's career leader in hits, runs scored, walks, and stolen bases and is among the top 3 leaders in several other categories. He is active in the community, helping to organize and participate in service projects for local organizations, including Fillmore Little League, Houghton Wesleyan Church, Camp JYC, Special Olympics, Fillmore Powerhouse, and serving the elderly in the local communities. He was an integral part in reinstating baseball's team Bible study during his sophomore year, and has been active in other Bible studies and worship opportunities. He served as a member of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee for 3 years as an undergraduate, including serving as treasurer as his senior year. In the classroom, he received his bachelor's degree with a 3.36 GPA in business administration in 2020, before returning for his 5th year of eligibility while pursuing his master's in business administration this year. Our 2021 Male Excellence Award recipient, our second 2-time winner, is David Wessels. Yeah, and I don't have a mask on.
Dean's trying to get an old Dean, you can have her too.
Okay.
I got him off, on, off. All right. You guys will get your award. We'll announce it.
Let's thank these student athletes for their accomplishments and contributions to the Houghton Athletics. At this time, I'd like to invite men's track and field and men's soccer student athlete Nathaniel Zadomi to deliver our second senior speech.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start by expressing appreciation for everyone out here. To Dee and her AT team of Dan and Austin, thank you so much for always keeping us physically in shape and ready to compete. And for this recently, for making sure we all got tested frequently, even though I regularly forgot to get tested. To all the coaches in the room, thank you for your dedication, especially Coach Hager, Coach McCall, Coach Sabato, Coach Sorter, Coach Ogden, Coach Webb, Coach Shilkey, and Jerry. You guys have made my experience here very special. And to my peers and fellow athletes, thank you for being a part of this amazing Houghton athletics group. When I was first approached by my coach about speaking tonight, I was beyond honored, of course, but also a little surprised. But after I thought about my 4 years at Houghton playing 2 sports, I realized that my experiences and my growth I had gone through then until now, and I felt a little less like an imposter. I'll share a bit of that growth with you tonight. Some of these experiences were interesting situations at the time, but now I look back at them with joy and nostalgia. I remember my first days at Houghton not being a student athlete because I wasn't recruited to play any sports. I had grown up playing a lot of soccer back home in Nigeria and was a pretty active kid, so I considered joining some of the sports teams at Houghton. I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, but I wanted to play sports. I remember standing on the sidelines of the Borg field during one of the fall soccer practices in the thick of the men's soccer season with my dad, my cleats, all my gear, without any prior contact with the coaches or any of the players on the team, hoping somehow that I could just hop in and play with the team. Obviously, I could not, at least not until after I went through a tryout period in the spring of that year. So because I couldn't join the soccer team when I first got here, I approached Coach Hager about joining the track and field team. I'll never forget the confused look on Coach Hager's face when I told him I had done track and field in high school, but I didn't have any of the times for the races I had run. He didn't realize that what I meant when I said I did track and field in high school was a small intra-school mini Olympics we had back in high school every once a year, which quite frankly was a joke. I was so naive at the time, and I'm not sure if they let me join the teams because they genuinely believed I had potential or because they would have felt bad for turning me away after how much interest I showed. For soccer, to be honest, when I first joined, I felt like I was the superstar of the team. Obviously, the coaches didn't think this way because I spent most of my time on the bench. Maybe they didn't understand the glory of how all in one play I could take on 3 players and then be unable to make an accurate 3-foot pass to my teammates, or how I could be the first person to get to a through ball and then leave the ball behind. My teammate Nick always reminds me of a soccer practice we had our sophomore year where we had to do a simple first touch drill like 50 times over because I just couldn't do it. For track, one of my earliest memories was being the anchor leg of a 4x400 meter race where I slowed down in the middle of the race because the guy in front of me was far in front and the guy behind me was far behind. I remember Coach Hager approaching me worried that maybe I'd pulled a hamstring or rolled an ankle or something, until I gave him my perfectly logical explanation that the guy in front of me was too far ahead to catch up to and the guy behind me wasn't going to catch up to me, so I just decided to jog to the finish line. Outside of this even, I recall always having to order exactly what the person in front of me got at every fast food place we went to as a team before and after competitions because of how clueless I was at the time. From my early days of being a member of sports teams at Houghton, as you can probably tell from some of these stories, I was a little lost. But hard work over the years and the love and support from everyone around me assuring me that I can improve is something that was extremely valuable to me and helped me improve my situation drastically. Fast forward to now, and some of the unfortunate underclassmen and some of my peers on my various sports teams have turned to me in times of confusion about certain things related to sports or otherwise. Also now have been able to represent my teams in a much more prominent way with some great feats I've been able to achieve. Athletics at Houghton have also fed my soul in a way that I don't think I would have been elsewhere. Things like Devos where people poured out their hearts and times where we prayed before competitions have been super important for helping me foster a bond with my teammates. Overall, I would say that sports has a unique way of fostering connection. There's a special kind of connection you have with people you run the soccer fitness test with, or you run endless 200 meter track workout with. What we have here with sports, especially D3 sports here at Houghton, is powerful. Powerful enough to allow a Nigerian kid from across the ocean come to a college like Houghton in the middle of nowhere in white rural America and somehow feel like he belongs. I'll never forget this experience, and I'm grateful to you all for being a part of this story. Thank you.
Anybody who's been here in the past has recognized the flow of information here. Some of the things we're not able to do is honor our Hall of Honor recipients. We're going to do that virtually with them, but here's a new thing that we've added this year, and asked the head coaches to kind of come up here to my right. We'd like the head coaches to speak from their hearts about each of their programs, to offer a bit of reflection on their teams and their accomplishments over this past year. So I'd ask the coaches to come up. We're going to actually go alphabetically through each team, and we're going to go one right after another. So first off, I think baseball's first, if my alphabet's correct. Ryan Reitnar. and you get to introduce the next one.
Oh, Lance. No, Lance.
We were just discussing which comes first, M or W for men's or women's, so I think I got it right, but we'll see. So, as he had introduced, I'm the head coach of the baseball team, and I can't tell you how proud I am of our team this year. We only had 4 returning seniors and 2 graduate students on a team of 27 guys, and the way that I think best describes our team this year is that they're like a swarm of gnats. You can brush them away from your face as many times as you want, and they just keep coming. This has been a pretty incredible season for us so far. In the fewest games that we've ever played, we've recorded the most wins in school history, and we have 18 regular season wins so far with a few games left. We're currently in second place in the conference. We've had 8 one-run games that we've won this year, and we've also won in our last at-bats 10 times. So it's been a pretty amazing year, but I'm most proud of both the leadership that our older guys have displayed in bringing along such a younger group of guys, but also the life, energy, and willingness to learn from the younger guys on our team. This has been the most cohesive team I've ever coached, and by far the most fun I've ever had as a college baseball coach. And I've coached college baseball, this is my 16th year. So I just want to say thank you to our team. I think they've been tremendous for me and my personal life, and I love you guys, and I'm really proud of you. Thanks. Next up is men's basketball, Coach Lance Westbrook.
Hello, Highlanders. I just want to offer a quick shout out to Adina Sanchez and David Wessels. Thanks for hustling between the lines. This should be an expectation here. Coach Pellegrino. All right. Guys, this has been a crazy year. A lot of unexpected things. Certainly didn't expect to start this year from our end with probably the biggest roster we've seen, maybe ever, and celebrate bringing in kids from about 13 different states and a few different countries, and celebrate that by hiding out in our rooms for a couple of weeks and hanging out on Zoom. But very, very unexpected. But I think there's been a lot of blessing in this year too. Certainly there's challenges. We've all been through it here. But it's been really special to see our group of guys come together from a bunch of guys who, just knew names and boxes on Zoom at the beginning of the year. But we got to play 8 games this season. We were supposed to play 12, but COVID decided that it was going to be present in a high-risk indoor sport. Imagine that. So, tough break for us. We're disappointed, but yeah, plenty of positives. I think we made some growth. We didn't really intend on playing 7 of our 8 games against top half teams in our league, but that's what came our way. But I'm just really appreciative of our guys, our coaches, their efforts. Congratulations, Jordan Holmes, on scoring your 1,000th point. Glad to have you back one more year. Future's bright. The windshield's a lot bigger than the rearview mirror. Thank you. Next up, women's basketball coach, Phil Pellegrino.
This season, like pretty much every team here, we battled through a lot of adversity. I think we might have had more adversity than any other team on this field right now. We had a new staff in a COVID year. We didn't know if we were going to have a season at all. Basketball was in jeopardy for most of the year. We had limited number on our roster. We ended the year with 7 players. In all of this, we excelled and proved that practice, mental toughness, and battling through adversity pays off. All of the year was practice for us. We practiced more, we practiced harder than any other season that we could have had. And through all that practice, we got rewarded with 3 games. It was a 3-game non-conference play season. But in this 3 games, we did end up going 3-0 with an average win margin of 25 points per game, which was really cool to see the team come together. The thing that I was most impressed with was one stat that stood out to me. That was averaging nearly 20 assists per game. over this 3-game stretch, and that shows love, that shows selflessness to each other and the program. So that was something that was awesome to see, especially as a first-year coach, just watch that all come together. None of this would have happened without the leadership of our 3 seniors and the willingness to adapt to tough circumstances. I know these 3 are bound for success, and I wish them nothing but the best. Thank you.
I'm much shorter. Though we were majorly disappointed by the constraints of cheering during a pandemic, we were grateful for the opportunity to be together this year and create something together despite our circumstances. Our time together was limited, but it wasn't taken for granted. Heading into the season, we had many veterans returning, and we had talented additions, so we were extremely excited about all that we would be able to do this season. We were looking at various ways to improve crowd engagement and widen our team's skill set to include more advanced stunting and tumbling. When we couldn't stunt, which is a major highlight of being a cheerleader, our focus became improving our dance technique, motions, flexibility, and fitness. We were still hopeful that we may be able to cheer at games, so we decided to create a pom dance routine and continue to work on crowd cheers. It was good for us to have a common goal to work toward. As the season progressed and the no spectators allowed rule was never lifted for basketball season, we became very disheartened. Cheerleaders are meant to enhance crowd experience, exude school spirit, and add energy to a game atmosphere. In times like these, it's hard to do our sport. We missed our men's and women's basketball athletes cheering at the games, hyping up the crowd, and performing. Coach Dries and I didn't want the girls' efforts to seem wasted, so we asked to record and virtually perform at halftimes of the games during the season. We are so grateful to all those that made it possible for us to virtually perform. This season wasn't ideal, but our purple and gold spirit still remains strong. As we lose 3 key seniors, we look forward to returning a strong 7 and promising recruits, and of course, being present in the 21-22 seasons.
Well, hello. I'm Pat Hager, head cross country and track and field coach here at Houghton. I wanted to talk to you briefly tonight about ignoring the silver lining. I guess I felt like all year with certain Houghton staff, faculty, even outside friends and family, talked a lot about the silver lining of the year. Well, at least you can compete. Well, at least this, at least that. And I think what I want to talk about my team tonight is the fact that we just chose to ignore it being a silver lining type of year, and we showed real emotion when we competed and practiced. I mean, we had plenty of practices where athletes were upset after a bad workout. Probably even more when an athlete was really upset after a bad race. And I loved seeing that from our team. We ignored the silver lining. One example I'll give is a short story, and she doesn't know I'm going to share this, but the story is about Amanda Bergder. As you know, as some of you probably know, Amanda had a great indoor season, a great season overall. She won the mile at the indoor championships. She came back a few hours later in a really gutsy 3K race to win against one of the top girls in the conference. A few weeks later, we turned around to go race at the cross country championships here at Houghton. Sort of a weird territory for us, but we were ready to go. Well, Amanda didn't have the greatest race that day. And that's kind of how it went. Well, the course cleared out. I think it was just me and Dylan Bell standing there by my truck, completely empty Field of Dreams, and all of a sudden I see a figure kind of running around the Field of Dreams way after the race is done, and it looked a lot like Amanda. And later I saw Amanda and asked if that was her, and she said, yeah, I needed to process the race. I ran an extra 4 miles, went and sat and reflected by the river. She wasn't happy about her performance, and I guess that in a microcosm describes our team this year a little bit. We kept hungry. We weren't happy for it just to be a COVID year. We wanted more. And in some ways, guys, track and field team back there, we compete for a championship this weekend, so I wanted this to be a little bit hype speech for you guys. I'll finish with a quote. This quote is from Usain Bolt, and it goes like this: "Dreams are free. Goals come with a cost. While you can daydream for free, goals don't come without a price. Time, effort, sacrifice, and sweat, how will you pay for your goals? I think that describes our year with the cross country and track and field team. Thank you. Have a great night.
Okay. Until the day we showed up to play our first game of the spring season, I was so skeptical of how this whole thing was going to work. Most of you know that. I thought, there's no way we're going to play. How are we going to pull this off? We can't. It won't work. We won't stay safe. Forget about COVID barriers. We, the field hockey team, were working within extremely tight confines of our own circumstances this year. Even in a normal year, it would have been tough. Broken collarbones, unexpected concussions, and a diminishing roster size day by day. It was hard not to wonder, is this going to be worth it? And in the days leading up to practice, should we do this? I'm so thankful for the group of young women sitting over there who, without hesitation, stared me right in the face after practice one day and answered, yes, we should do this. I couldn't have been more wrong, because we did pull it off. We competed, we practiced, we stayed safe thanks to the amazing administrative and medical staff. We succeeded, we failed, but we learned and we improved and we grew. My skepticisms and doubts were silenced day after day, not just by my extremely loud and obnoxious team, but by the tangible reminders that God delivered us on the daily and that He was present with this group and asking us to continue on. So, team, thank you for showing up no matter what practice phase we were put in, ready to work every day, even when it was time for Coach Amanda's core workouts. Thank you for eating your Wegman subs underneath a shopping cart corral in the rain without complaining. Thank you, seniors, for leading your team while closing out your careers in a way that was different than we ever imagined. And thanks for hunting for 100 Easter eggs with my kids on a holiday where you were missing your family and we were missing ours. Thank you for believing that if Jesus could do it with 12, we definitely could do it with 13. And I'm just really proud of you. I'm really grateful for your commitment in a really tough year, for making it work for this program, and you guys are awesome.
Good evening. I've had the privilege of coaching the men's and women's lacrosse team this year. And while we don't have any seniors on the women's team to honor tonight, I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the entire team for their effort, their energy, and their positive attitude they've had since really our first practice in this fall. This is a very resilient group. They handle adversity in their own way, and they have their style that they approach, and I appreciate that of them. The same could be said about the men's team, with their energy often being heard with the words nugget and let them know echoing down the hill and off the walls of K-Pac. This is a special group of young men, and it's been an honor to be their coach. To the seniors, thank you. You're the first official recruiting class here at Houghton of mine, and you made an immediate impact on our team, our program, and me. I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize each of our seniors and their accomplishments, because many of them only did it in 2.5 years. Jake Minnendorf returned back to Houghton and is a 2-year member of the team and the elder statesman of us. Nate Anderson, a 4-year member, finished with 127 points, second all-time, 74 goals, third all-time, 53 assists, first all-time in program history. John Mayer, a 4-year member of the team, finished with 97 points, fourth all-time, 64 goals, fourth all-time, 33 assists, third all-time in program history. Titus Snavely, a 4-year member, finished with 108 ground balls, 9th all-time, 63 caused turnovers, third all-time. And Jeremy Harris, a 4-year member, finished first all-time with 299 saves, a 10.31 saves per game average, and 44.9% save percentage, fourth all-time in program history. Michael Rohrball, who graduated a year early and isn't here with us tonight, but he was a 3-year member of our team with 31 points, tied for 9th all-time, and 10 assists, tied for 9th all-time. Zach Thompson finishing and just playing basically a 1.5 years as a 3-year member and graduating early, was a key part in that second recruiting class and the effort that he brought to the practice field
and the game field. And lastly, Tom Woodward was a 5th-year member, so here from the beginning for me. And he finished with 174 ground balls, 3rd time all-time, and 94 caused turnovers, 1st all-time. And that just speaks to the effort that they gave each and every day, where many of them leaving their legacy in this program from the beginning that they first got here. Each of you had set the standard for our team to follow and help define our culture. On both of our teams, we often break our huddles with the word family, a phrase that extends beyond the scoreboard, beyond the locker room, beyond the lines of this field. Thank you to each and every one of you on both of those teams for what you've done for the Houghton lacrosse family, and that will continue on. Thank you.
All right. As I reflect on this year, there's one word that comes to mind that defines Houghton women's soccer. That word is resilience. Our team verse is, "They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor," from Isaiah 61:3. Trees that grow through winds, storms, and hurricanes are able to withstand the forces. Those trees end up stronger than they were before the storm. The resilient trees are the ones that flourish. Are we not like the trees? Resilience is something I thought of often this year when I thought of my players. Challenge was thrown at all of us, wearing masks to play, training for over a year without the gift of game day, non-contact soccer practices, mustering up motivation when it would be easier to coast or be apathetic, and much more. Along with this defining word comes a defining moment for us as a team. That moment came off the back of a list of circumstances that could have led anyone or any team to give up, lack motivation, or withdraw. The storm winds were blowing, if you will. As their coach, I looked at the rest of the season, the 3 or more games we had left, and thought we are either going to stand firm with roots dug deep or break under the force of the storm. So I challenged them. I challenged them with the thought of not withdrawing when times are hard. I challenged them with to dare to keep desiring. This team, what they had now proven to me is their nature. They pressed in and they were resilient. I am excited to stand up here today and be able to say we played our best soccer at the end of the season, which is always a mark of success in my eyes. I know the resilience that it took for that statement to be true this year. But now, as trees that stood up against the winds and the rain, I believe all these young women are stronger for it. Keeping with the analogy, the Lord has cultivated them to have deeper roots and a stronger foundation because by his grace they endured the storms of this year and were resilient. To our seniors, you led us so well. We could look to you as beacons of strength and determination. You cared for this program in word and deed. My desire for my players is that they would depart this program leaving it better than they found it. I want you to set the stage for success of the future generations, and that is what you did. Thank you. Now go leave your new communities better than you find them as oaks of righteousness. And for the future generation, tradition is only as strong as the next generation. So please take care to call yourselves to be all that Houghton women's soccer stands for, to embody our core values and to take the future of this program on your shoulders with great care and responsibility. You are ready. Go Highlanders.
Good evening. I'm going to start by just saying a few thank yous. First of all, I want to thank the people that are behind me, so Coach Webb, Dee, and Jason. I think without them and their leadership and a lot of things that probably as student athletes and even as coaches we don't see, we wouldn't be out here right now and we wouldn't have been out here this semester. Dee, you and your staff, I don't think anybody works harder in the athletic department, so thank you. Coach Webb, thanks for just advocating for us to play. Jason, thanks for giving up all your weekends and midweeks and all the work that you do. So, as far as our season goes, there's a couple of ways to kind of look at whether it was successful or not. I think as coaches and players, we look at wins and losses. and for us, we won 5 games this year, and we won 5 games in the whole of the 2019 season. So in terms of wins and losses, it was a success. But I think a better gauge for whether or not it was a success is the fact that when we finished our last game, I don't think anyone wanted it to end, including me. So I think that says a lot just about the team spirit on our team. I think it says a lot about the relationships that were built on our team, and it says a lot about the quality of guys on the team. So I just want to thank them for everything that they gave over this season. It wasn't what we expected this time last year, but it was awesome, and it's a season that we'll never forget. I also just want to say, just quickly, with the seniors, when I came in 2 years ago as the coach, you guys were experiencing obviously your second coach, which is a big change. So I want to thank you just for just your willingness to adapt and be flexible. I think that stood you in good stead going into this season. And I also just want to say, when I first came in, several people, including Coach Webb, said that the sophomore class at the time, which is now the senior class, were ready to lead the men's soccer program. And over the last 2 years, you guys have done that. And you've left this program in a great place. And when I say that, I mean on the field and off the field. You're a great bunch of guys, and we wish you all the best. So thank you.
I also was starting my speech with thank yous. Dr. Webb, Dee, Jason, all our administrative staff, Greg, Jan, Austin, we really couldn't have had the opportunity to compete without the work that you guys put in before and throughout and continue to put in for our seasons to happen. So thank you to all of you. In this year of uncertainty, I wouldn't have wanted to walk through it with any other team. This group of young women faced adversity but persevered together. Every time they stepped on the field, they did it for each other and played with all of their hearts to glorify and honor God. Throughout this past semester, we walked through the book of Ephesians as a team. In Ephesians 4:15-16, it says, "Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ, for whom the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, when each part is working properly, makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love." This truly reflects this team and the way they loved and cared for one another in the midst of one of the hardest times in each other's lives. When I think back on this team, I'll think back on the love they had for one another and how God perfectly equipped and used each one of them to be part of Houghton softball in such a crazy year. I also want to just give a shout out to my assistant coaches, Coach O and Coach G. Their support and hard work and just supporting me and everything they've done for me behind the scenes and the team too. I just couldn't have done it without them, so I just want to thank them. And lastly, to our seniors, Hannah and Caitlin Seibart, thank you both of you for your hard work, passion, and commitment to our program. You've been with this program through its highs and lows, and you've been such an important part in helping it grow in the right trajectory. I know that it will not be the same without you both on the field and off the field next year. You'll forever be a part of the Houghton softball family, and you'll always be our favorite twins. Good luck to all the seniors who are graduating. It's been such a pleasure to see you all compete on the field, and good luck wherever life takes you.
So like the coaches before me, I want to start out by saying thank you to just everyone who made this season possible. We know it was a lot for us to get here and how much it means to the athletes, coaches, and administration to be here, so thank you. In regards to my women's tennis team, the first thing I want to say is how proud I am of these ladies. If you're close with these girls or have kept up with our season, you know they've gone through a lot this year. We've had several dual sport athletes, players at home. We've had girls leave the team, and we've had our share of unexpected injuries. The ladies have played all their matches a woman down this year, which, if you're unfamiliar with tennis, means we start every match to 9 down 0-2. So coming back from that is a huge feat for our ladies. They fought hard and they persevered to earn a ranking of 4th in the Empire 8, which is the conference with 7 women's teams. So a huge deal and a great accomplishment that they've had this year. These ladies have shown their tenacity over and over again, competing in 2-a-day matches in a compressed season, taking what's normally accomplished over the course of a few months and pressing it down into 6 weeks. It's truly been a women's tennis season unlike any other, but it's a challenge they rose to each and every day. And I couldn't be happier with how they supported and loved each other through the process. I'm going to read to you the team's mission statement that our men's and women's athletes selected this year. Make it count. We can only guarantee today. Play with passion, be grateful, love your teammates, and focus on the process. The ladies of the Highlander tennis team certainly did that this year. I want to take a moment to congratulate our all-conference players as well. Elise Swanson for Empire 8 second team. Erin Haley and Chloe Esch for third team. And Sophia Yescott for our Sportswoman of the Year. The benefit of dual sport athletes. We've got a big cheering crowd. Congratulations, ladies, and well done to the whole team on a fantastic season. Oh, and the next speaker is also me. So as you know, I also coach the men's tennis team. So I have the pleasure of doing that this season as well. First, I want to congratulate the men on an undefeated regular season and team title for conference play this year. And shameless plug, anyone who is still on campus, please consider coming and supporting us in our first postseason game this Friday afternoon. This marks the second undefeated season for the men's tennis team and is a great moment of pride for our programs, especially after the devastating cancellation of the season last spring. These guys have worked so hard for the last 2 years to earn their moments upcoming in the next few weeks. I'm so proud of this team's dedication to their sport and to each other. I genuinely believe each one of the guys goes out to play for the one sitting next to him right now. We as well have been operating under the Make It Count mission statement, and this team has. Every day, every practice, every match, trip, meeting, these guys come to make the most of it. They've put in the work, the effort, and the dedication to having a great season this year. And it truly has been a great season. I look forward to spending the next 2 weeks prepping with these guys for a tournament that has been 2 years in the making. To our amazing senior class, Jake Fissler, Ethan Young, and Ben McKay, we absolutely could not be the program we are today without your effort, dedication, and care. So thank you. Congratulations to our guys on an awesome season, and I can't wait to see what else you accomplish together this year. Well done.
Well, I get to be the last one up here right now of the coaches. And I'd like to reiterate thanks to the athletic department. I know as student athletes, you don't always see everything that's going on behind the scenes, but if you think of the number of COVID tests that were given, dealing with all the schedule changes, having all the teams play at the same time, the same season, it's really impressive to me that they pulled it off as well as it did, so I would like to thank them for that. I'd like to thank all of you student athletes out here right now. I'm guessing you didn't think that you'd be sitting in the ring for your athletic awards or athletic excellence night, and it says a lot of credit to all of you for your dedication to these programs that you're out here. As far as my team, this season, like a lot of other coaches, we really didn't know what was going to happen and how it was going to go. But as a coach, every day that I walked into the gym, I looked forward to it because those girls wanted to be there every single day. As coaches, we can't practice or play 7 days in a row. We're not allowed to do that. And when I would tell my team we had to take a day off, they weren't happy about it, which says a lot. Because when I played, I wanted my days off. Okay? Now, that also goes into the fact that probably the most impressed, the most proud I am of this team is how much they care for each other and love for each other. They show up every day to work hard together. They pick each other up when they're down. When a group has to be stuck in a townhouse, they're trying to do everything they can to make their lives happy, even though they can't do anything but sit in a house. And I know as a coach it's really rewarding on and off the court to know that these girls love each other and care for each other day in and day out. We saw a lot of growth as a team, a lot of youth, got a lot of development, a lot of time and experience this year, and it looks really good for the future, and I look forward to being back here in August. Thank you.
We're going to move on to our traditional passing of the baton ceremony. We have some junior and senior leaders who are going to take over from here.
It has become a tradition here at Houghton for representatives of the athletes in the senior class to pass the baton to representatives of the athletes in the junior class. This exchange symbolizes that we as seniors have completed our careers as Highlander athletes. Much as in a relay race, the exchange demonstrates that one runner's portion of the race here is over.
However, it is important to note that the race is not over when the baton has been passed. Jack and I, as representatives of the junior class and of all the Highlander athletes who will return next year, accept this baton, and with this we acknowledge our responsibility to continue the ministry of Highlander athletes everywhere, to those we play with, those we play against, and those we play in front of.
If you would all join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many opportunities that you've given us this year. You know the struggles that we've overcome to be here, and how we've used our gifts that you've given us to the best of our ability to your glory. I pray that you would bless our seniors as they go out into the next chapter of their lives, and that they would continue to be an awesome representative of you and pursue excellence in everything they do. And for all of us that return here next year, I pray that you would bless us with an awesome year, great competition, and amazing achievement for your glory. In your name, amen.
We're truly proud of the accomplishments our teams and student athletes have received over the past year. At this time, I'd like to ask all athletes who've received any type of Athlete of the Week award from the Empire 8 or who has been honored with any all-conference selection so far this year to please stand. So if you've received any type of honor from the Empire 8, also President's List, if your academic achievement got you that honor from the fall, I ask you to please stand. I think this year we've had the most athletes of the week that we've had at any time, any other year, and it's been consolidated in over these last 3 months. But these athletes are deserving of a round of applause, so let's hear it for them. All right, now we're going to move on to the part of the program where we recognize student athletes who have left an indelible mark on Highlander athletics in their time here, our seniors. Seniors, when your name is called with your team, I ask you to please come to the front and join your coach and fellow senior teammates. I also want to let you know this is the time we usually award a plaque with a photo for each of our seniors. That's going to be happening as well as the other awards that we're giving out inside after the dessert. So once we move on from here, we didn't want to have the plaques all getting wet, so you're not going to get those. But we ask the coaches, when I announce your team and your seniors, to come up, and we're going to line up along the entire sideline here for all of our seniors. Starting out first, baseball, Whitney Cook, Jared Couch, Joe Gross, Wayne Roden, David Wessels, and Kevin Zientara, and head coach Brian Reitnauer. Women's basketball, head coach Phil Pellegrino, Caitlin Seibart, Hannah Seibart, Alex Steele. Cheerleading, head coach Jessica Romance, Brianna Childs, Anna Trimble, Abby Aguirre, and Doris Mullen, co-coaches. Men's cross country and track and field, Alex Haynes, Jerome Houston, Dominic Sullivan, Nathaniel Zadomi, Joel Wheeler, and Evan Miller. Women's cross country and track and field, and this includes head coach Pat Hager, Adina Sanchez, Julia Hotchkiss, and Keely DeForest. Field hockey, head coach Hannah Ogden, Hannah Daniels, Caitlin Jennings, Hannah Gradenas, and Leanne Plunkett. Men's lacrosse, head coach Andrew Lundeen, Nate Anderson, John Mayer, Jeremy Harris, Jake Middendorf, Titus Stavely, Mike Rohrball, Zach Thompson, and Tom Woodward. Men's soccer, head coach Bobby McCall, Caleb Lowe, Julius Clore, Aldo Rico, Nick D'Angelo, Noah Ewing, Dan Myers, Kenneth Estep, Elijah Steffen, and Nathaniel Zadomi. Women's soccer, head coach Nikki Elsasser, Amy Romig, Keely DeForest, Michaela Gaffney, Tess Schilke, Steph Beatty, Kirsten Gurney, Erin Maggio, and Elizabeth Tate. Softball, head coach Katie Sinclair, Caitlin Seibart, and Hannah Seibart. Men's tennis, head coach Tanya McGrainer, Jake Fissler, Ethan Young, and Ben McKay. And volleyball, an unofficial senior, Jenna Bittinger. Head coach Josh Tompkins. The student athletes standing before you have followed in the footsteps of those who formed the foundation of Highlander athletics when competition between purple and gold, and those that build on that tradition since the college moved to intercollegiate athletics in 1967. Over the last 4 years, they've dedicated their time and energy on the court, field, and track while maintaining a commitment to excellence in the classroom as they prepare for kingdom-building impact in their chosen professions. Their accomplishments include all-conference, all-region, and all-America recognition. They have earned numerous NCCAA and Empire 8 Player of the Week honors. They qualified for NCCAA and Empire 8 postseason tournaments. They've broken numerous team and individual school records. They've held campus leadership positions, served in the local community, and traveled around the globe through academic and sport ministry programs. Our seniors have modeled integrity, respect, responsibility, sportsmanship, and servant leadership to those they play with, in front of, and against. And they pass on that tradition to the underclassmen seated in front of them today. Seniors, as you move on from Houghton, we will pray for you as you face the challenges of our world, and pray that the lessons you learned here will serve you well in the communities you serve. Recall fondly the memories and friendships made during your time as Highlanders, and may we always be close to your heart. We ask that you also keep us in your prayers as we continue the mission of Highlander Athletics to glorify God by educating and developing men and women leaders who compete with excellence, lead by character, and exemplify Jesus Christ in our world. Thank you, seniors. We won't forget you. Let's please stand and recognize our senior student athletes. All right, you guys can return to your spots. And at this time, I'd like to invite our Director of Athletics, Matt Webb, back up to give a special recognition.
I hope that goes on.
I zoomed it on.
All right, word. I love that. Love that.
So it's starting to rain harder. That's just sort of par for the course this year. But the fact that you're all out here is a testament to who you are as young men and women. You're committed to your teams, you're committed to each other's teams, and that's why it's so special to be a Highlander. And so I appreciate that about each of you. This evening we've honored many of you, deservingly so. This year's been one that we will all never forget. This year covered just about every emotion in the book. Uncertainty and frustration when thinking that we might not be able to play at all. Thankfulness for being able to be together in the fall and actually practice. A sense of loss and abandonment when games were canceled and or changed, which seemed to happen almost daily. Loneliness and anxiety and stress when being told you had to quarantine, either for contracting COVID yourself or for needing to quarantine because you're a close contact. Appreciation and pure joy when we finally were able to compete again. I'll never forget the first men's basketball game. It was really odd, warming up and there's nobody in the gym. But seeing the guys on the court again and a sense that this was normal again. You could see the joy on their faces, and I felt it as well. They got to play. And then seeing that same thing of joy in each of you when you got to step back on the court or the field or the track for the first time and finally compete again. Well over a year for most of you from when you'd last competed. You did this while wearing masks. You did this while undergoing nose swabs multiple times a week. You did this while managing a new academic schedule, online, quarantining, in class, out of class. You did this while undergoing other institutional restrictions that were new and were challenging. Can't tell you how proud I am of who you are as Highlander student athletes. I can't imagine how much complaining and disgruntledness other institutions had to endure. I know you weren't always happy about everything, but I heard minimal complaints from you. Thank you. This is indicative again of the type of young men and women that you are. I was reminded recently of why we compete at Houghton. We compete to win, yes, but ultimately we compete as a reflection of our God-given talents. As one of our former coaches used to always say, the field we play on is an altar. Our demonstration of our physical abilities is our spiritual act of worship, and it's a sacrifice to God who enabled us to perform. Jason Euchre showed me a tweet just 2 days ago from a parent of a Utica softball player after the game that Houghton played there, and a picture of Houghton and Utica praying together after the game. The tweet said, "Houghton College, the world needs more of this. It sure was the best part of the game. Win or lose. Utica College softball thanks you." This is why we play. The potential kingdom impact through athletics is immense. Thank you for representing Houghton, but more importantly, Jesus Christ and how we play the game. So we've heard a lot about you tonight, and at this point I want to do something that's a little bit of an aberration from a normal evening. And I know it's raining harder, but this is really, really important. None of what's happened this spring could have happened without the incredible sacrifices of time and energy from a few special people. And I'm going to ask a few folks to come up here. But the sacrifices made this spring by these folks were significant and extraordinary. This first group, actually, I'm not going to ask you to come up here. But I'd like every single head coach and assistant coach to either stand up or step forward. And I would like us to publicly acknowledge and thank them because they made changes to their life schedules. They made changes and sacrifices of time with family to make things happen this year. So I want to publicly acknowledge and thank all of you head coaches, all assistant coaches, and all of your staff for each of our teams. There's a few individuals I want to highlight as well. Allie, you don't need to come forward now because you're actually going to come forward a little bit later. But for those of you that haven't met Allie Holmquist, she is a new staff member this year. She's here on a 2-year grant from the NCAA. And Allie took on some extra things this spring, including administration and monitoring parents and family members and fans coming to games. That sounds like, well, that's just normal. Well, it wasn't normal this year, and that was quite a bit. On top of scheduling events, scheduling student workers, and a lot of other things. I'm not sure how we would have done it without having Allie here this year. So Allie, I just want to thank you for that. And again, you'll be up here in a little bit for something else, so that's when you'll come up. Now, this group of people, you need to come up, and you're actually very primed and ready to come forward right now. And Greg Bish, I think you're standing there right with them. So Austin and Dan and Greg Bish, I need the three of you to come up here. So maybe Greg, you can just jump in the cart and you can drive on up.
Yeah.
There you go. You can just come right up in front here. Right up in front. Or behind. There you go. So, Dan and Austin. And you all know Dan and Austin. Dan and Austin are our two athletic trainers. And I just want to say to you two guys, the hours that you've committed to making it possible for us to compete this spring Just wow is what comes to mind. And thank you. I don't come down and frequent the athletic training room real often, but I know I speak for all of these folks out here when I say thank you guys. Austin, next year we might need to strategically assign you to some different games to spread out the serious injuries in the department. But what a year for your first year as an athletic trainer. Well done. Dan, I also can't say enough for your commitment to these young men and women this year. Your tireless attention to our athletes has not gone unnoticed. Thank you. And both of you, this is just a small token of our appreciation for your extra time and energy this spring. Dr. Greg Bish, come out here, Greg. Just right out in front. So, none of you knew Greg Bish before this year, and now you all know Greg Bish as the guy who's been checking out your boogers for this spring. So Greg is probably the most important addition we could have made this year. He was the chief booger checker for the spring, doing all the COVID testing. And most of you don't know this, but Greg has spent many years at Houghton in previous positions. But Greg, I've got to think this spring is the most memorable and probably the most unique of anything you've ever done at Houghton before. So, Greg, we go way back, but I can't thank you enough for answering that phone. And when I asked you to come and do this, your response was, well, I can't really think of a reason to say no, so I guess I'll come and help you guys out this spring. So thank you so much, Greg. And Houghton Athletics has been so much better this year because you were here. So I appreciate it. You truly are a Highlander. You always were, but now you're an athletic Highlander as well. So thanks, Greg. And lastly, these two folks are already up here, and so I'm going to ask them to come stand next to me. But my two associate athletic directors, Jason Muker and Deanna Hand, couldn't have done it without them. Just a few highlights. We've added live streaming to all of our events and live commentating for most of our events. Now, some of that commentating was a bit critical or a bit unknowledgeable about the sport, i.e. volleyball, when I called the antenna the volleyball upright. But this has far exceeded what our Empire 8 counterparts have done. I don't know how many of you have gone and watched any live feeds from at other schools. Very rarely was there live commentating, and so we've had that. Jason led this effort, and I thank you for that, Jason, with Allie's help, but I thank you for giving leadership to that. We've had to juggle our staff's availability to cover events, and this has meant more coverage, hours, and energy for each of you, just to be able to have our home events. Thank you both. The number of decisions we've had to make on a daily basis, consulting with each of you, thank you for your insight, your wisdom, your support in the daily grind of canceling games, adding games, finding staff, etc. Jason, you coordinated the installation of technology upgrades at all of our facilities. That's been a huge help. And in a year where a lot else was going on, that enabled us to do all these extra things. D, your leadership at the conference level to finalize and lead the conference COVID policies and procedures. Conference would have fallen apart without your leadership. Thank you. And on just a personal level, on so many levels, we couldn't have done it without you two helping me through. Your attitude, your willingness to be flexible, your loyalty to Houghton Athletics. I could go on and on. Thank you both. You guys can drive on back. Last thing. I need to ask one last group to come forward, and that would be all the members of both the men's and women's lacrosse teams. So guys, ladies, I need all of you up here. Coaches, come up here with them. You could just stand on either side of the tent. Look, they've got a whole tarp. So just maybe either side of the tent. Zoe, you can stand under the tent if you want. There you go. Okay. If we could just sort of line up so everyone can see you. The tarp is great, guys. So, just a few words about our lacrosse student athletes and coaches. All of us, all of you, experienced some form of disappointment and frustration this year for a variety of COVID reasons. But none of you sitting out there right now went through what these folks went through when I had to announce in January that this was going to be the last year for men's and women's lacrosse. The ripple effects to the alumni was also significant, as the alma mater that they played for would no longer have the program that they most identified with as Houghton alums. To all of you as lacrosse athletes standing next to me right now, each of your teams opted for very different paths for how you wanted to conclude your experience as a lacrosse player at Houghton. Men, you chose not to play and just do it amongst yourselves, which was somewhat indicative of the family culture that has been built and grown in the men's lacrosse program over the years. And the women, you chose to play, and neither one of those was right or wrong or better or worse than the other. It was just very different options. And in both paths that you chose, you represented Houghton well. And I want to thank you for that. There's nothing that we can do or that we can give to you that mitigates the hurt that I'm sure you still feel. However, we do have a small token of appreciation that we want you to take with you. There we go. Your coaches at this time will be presenting you with your jersey to keep as a token of our appreciation of all you've done in representing Houghton and Christ well in your role as a Highlander. So ladies, when they collected your jerseys the other day and you were all miffed at us, sorry, but now we're giving them back to you to have, okay? You guys have represented Houghton so well, but more than that, you've represented Christ. You will always be Highlanders. We thank you for your commitment as Houghton men's and women's lacrosse players. So coaches, if we can distribute those jerseys, or is that being done? Yeah, we're working on it. You're working on it, okay. Very good. So while we're doing that, and you guys can stay up here because I have just a few last words to say, and that is about your coaches. Allie, I talked a little bit about you earlier. I don't know where you are, Allie. All right, Allie, thank you for your time and joining this program for this last season. I know that you fell in love with these young women and that you've poured into them. Thank you. Thanks for all your work with the women's lacrosse team. And Allie, I have something for you. Here, you can get it later if you want. Or you can get it now. There you go. Thank you. Brooke, where's Brooke? Brooke's handing out jerseys too. Go ahead, you can keep doing that. But Brooke, you have given the last 7 years of your life to women's lacrosse. And she still is right now, throwing jerseys out. And now the past 3 years as a coach. Thank you for your selflessness, your loyalty, and your love for Houghton women's lacrosse. Brooke, I'm going to tell you about this gift. This might be like the worst gift ever, because what we're going to do, I have a sneaky suspicion that you already have your jersey. She may have a few of them. So Brooke, what we're going to ask you to do is to give one of those back, because we're going to get it framed for you so that you can display it appropriately as you move on. So thank you, Brooke. So your favorite one, of the few that you've taken, we want one of those back so that we can put it in a frame for you. And last, I want to speak about Coach Lundeen. And I know I speak for all of you standing up here as current players and any alumni that may see this later when I say that, Andrew, you poured yourself into the Houghton lacrosse program. And more importantly, into your players' lives. You've impacted young men and women for the kingdom. And to put it in the words of one of your former athletes, quote, Coach Lundeen and Houghton lacrosse saved my life. You've truly lived out daily what it means to be a coach at Houghton. I've said this to you before, but I want to say it in front of everyone else, Andrew. You've been a true professional, I can't think of how anyone could have responded better and worked through this spring after telling you that your program was being discontinued. Thank you for your response, for your professionalism, for your grace, and for your love of these young men and women. This is just a small token of appreciation from us to you for what you have meant to the Houghton lacrosse program, and as with all of your athletes and alums, you will forever be a Highlander. So you guys can all go back now. Thank you. So we're just about ready to conclude, and Coach Elsasser is going to come give the benediction. But before she does that, I just want to give some instructions on what is going to happen next. So all of our award winners. So, and I just, Hannah and Nathaniel, thank you for your speeches. They were great. David and Adina, congratulations on your awards tonight. So all of our award winners and seniors, following the benediction, we have your plaques for you in the K-Pack. So we'd like you to make your way to the K-Pack where you can get your plaque from your coaches. Your coaches will actually go there first and hand them to you. Jason Muker will be there to take some team pictures, or senior pictures anyway, with you and your coach. Everyone else, well, seniors included, we have dessert for you as well to pick up. And I think there's a cheesecake option, a carrot cake option, and a gluten-free carrot cake option. And so grab your dessert, make your way back to the dorm, or come back out to your car, or wherever it is that you need to go. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and I'd like to welcome Coach Elsasser to close us up.
All right, please receive the benediction. May Christ dwell in your hearts through the faith that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Go in peace.